And look, there's a video going around, started circulating last week, and it claims 60 tons of fake silver just flooded the market. Big number, scary headline. Here's what's actually true. That specific number, it's probably unverified, but the threat it's pointing at, very real. And it may be sitting in your safe right now. You bought physical silver because you didn't trust the paper system. You saw the printing, you saw the inflation. You were right. But now the physical market has caught the exact same disease. Here's a quick filter you can run right now. Grab the strongest magnet in your house. Hold it 1 inch from your silver. If it snaps to the magnet, if it even moves a little bit, that's a red flag. That's a quick filter for the laziest fakes. But the magnet test, it's obsolete against the new generation of counterfeits. They're built specifically to pass that one. The test that catches what everything else misses, that's coming. Because the story starts with 3 players. Know their motives, and the whole picture just snaps into focus. Player 1, Beijing's Ministry of Commerce. At the end of 2025, China announced that only 44 companies are now authorized to export silver in 26 and 27. China controls roughly 60 to 70% of the world's refined silver supply. They just locked the gates on most of it. And what did they call it publicly? An environmental and production standards licensing reform. That's like a bank robber holding up a teller and calling it an involuntary liquidity transfer. In the first 11 months of 2025, China exported 4,600 tons of silver and imported only 220 tons, a 21-to-1 ratio. They flooded the world with their silver, got everyone dependent on it, then threw up an environmental wall and kept the rest for their own solar panels and EVs. Player 2, Shenzhen's Xubei Precious Metals District. This district handles roughly half of China's entire precious metals trade. In February, local police released footage of themselves cutting open silver bars to reveal iron and lead cores. They wanted to look like they were enforcing the law. What they actually proved is that the beating heart of the global silver trade is infested with counterfeits. Player 3, and this is the one nobody's talking about, the content farms repeating 60 tons across YouTube and social media. Every English language video on this story traces back to one Chinese language clip from February 9th. Nobody called a source. Nobody verified the number. They just repeated it. And that is the one thing we're not doing here, because the real story is actually worse than a big round number. Let's look at what's actually happening underneath all of this. Silver started 2025 at $29 an ounce. By December, it hit $79, a 172% increase in 1 year. And here's what that means at your kitchen table. 100 ounces of silver in January of 25, a $2,900 position. In December, on paper, $7,900. On paper. Because when prices run that hard, that fast, counterfeiters run with them. And the proof isn't some industry estimate. It's what just happened to a major U.S. bullion dealer. In January, last month of 26, a major U.S. bullion dealer, a legitimate, well-known name, unknowingly shipped thousands of sophisticated counterfeit bars straight to their retail customers. We'll get into exactly how that happened, but hold on to that because it changes everything about how you buy and verify silver going forward. And the counterfeiters behind operations like that, these aren't garage hobbyists. No, this is an industry, and it's exploding right now because everything your savings depends on is getting squeezed from every direction. Your property taxes went up 18%. Your grocery bill went up 26%. Your insurance premiums went up 30%. And the one hard asset you stacked specifically to survive all of that might be hollow. And the people running the financial system have the nerve to go on television and say that the market is fundamentally sound. Sound for them maybe, not for you. Here's the mechanism. This is the part most coverage gets completely wrong. The newest fake silver passes the weight test. It passes the magnet test. It passes surface X-ray fluorescence, the standard tool most dealers use. And here's why. Think of it like a chocolate Easter egg. The outside is real silver. 2 millimeters of genuine fine silver shell, perfectly stamped, perfectly finished. Inside, tungsten. You tap the edge, feels right. You weigh it, checks out. Tungsten's density is close enough to fool a scale. The only way to know for certain is to smash it open. But just like that Easter egg, nobody's going to smash open their chocolate before they eat it. And the counterfeiters know you're not taking a hammer to a 79 silver bar. They've weaponized your reluctance. And this isn't a conspiracy. It's just math. Restrict 70% of global supply. triple the price, and you create the ultimate margin for criminals. History consistently shows the secondary market fills the vacuum with fraud. China did this exact playbook with rare earths in 2010. Prices spiked up to 1,000%. The market was flooded with fake and low-grade material that cost Western manufacturers billions. Same playbook, different metal. And look, I'm just a guy who buys houses for a living. I look at title histories, I look at balance sheets, I calculate cash flow. But when the math on physical silver stops adding up, even I take 30 minutes to test what's sitting in my own safe. And here's why all of this matters beyond just silver. The economy right now isn't recovering the way that they keep telling you it is. It's actually splitting. Picture the letter K. One arm goes up, one arm goes down. Up represents the rich, down represents the poor. The top arm is people who own assets, real estate, physical metals, businesses, things that produce value, hold value, or both. The bottom arm is people whose only asset is their paycheck, and that paycheck buys less every single year. Inflation, though, it doesn't care which arm you're on. It hits everybody, but it hits them all differently. And here's the difference. If you own a piece of real estate with a fixed rate mortgage, inflation is actually working for you. Your debt shrinks in real terms while your asset grows. That's inflation arbitrage. If you own physical silver and gold, you're doing the same thing just in a different form. You're converting paper dollars, which lose purchasing power every year, into a hard asset that holds its value when the dollar doesn't. Every dollar of inflation that eats your neighbor's savings account, your silver and gold absorbs that hit instead of your wallet. That's why hard assets put you on the top arm of that K. Real estate, physical metals, things that exist in the real world and can't be printed into worthlessness overnight. But here's the brutal part. If your silver is fake, if your war chest is tungsten dressed up as protection, you're not on the top arm of that K. You just think you are. That's why verifying what you own isn't a paranoid hobby. It's the difference between actually being on the right side of this split and just having a good story to tell yourself. If noticing that your physical assets don't match what they're saying on TV makes you a conspiracy theorist, all right, I'll take it. I'd rather be a conspiracy theorist with solvency than a compliant citizen holding tungsten. You know, if you're over 50, you lived through enough of these once-in-a-lifetime events. You know how they play out. You don't need a PhD, you just need a memory. And here's the question nobody is asking out loud. Physical silver in Shanghai has been trading at significant premiums over COMEX paper contracts. Paper and physical are decoupling right now. What happens when the next crisis hits and millions of people try to convert their paper ETFs into real metal? Because there isn't enough metal. And some of what's out there on the secondary market might be fake. You know, you just woke up in a world that's been working against you for years. But now you've got the playbook. Let's start by tearing down a piece of advice that is currently getting people hurt. For 20 years, the mainstream line has been, buy from a reputable dealer and you're safe. Well, that's dead. Remember that story that happened just last month I was telling you about that dealer? Here's what actually happened. The bars passed the dealer's weight test. It passed their x-rays. It passed because the bars were authentic when the dealer originally bought them. But somewhere in the secondary market chain, someone drilled them out, filled them with tungsten, and resealed them perfectly. If your name isn't on the deed, you don't own the house. If you don't have an unbroken chain of custody for your metals, you don't own the silver. Here's the active defense playbook I'd be considering right now. Step 1, audit before you sell anything. Tonight, go to your safe and pull out every bar or coin you bought from a private seller, an estate sale, or an online marketplace in the last 5 years or so. Pull out the postal scale. If you don't have one, go get one. 1 troy ounce of silver should weigh exactly 31.1 grams. If it's off by more than half a gram, it goes into a separate pile. Get a neodymium magnet if you don't have one. They're $5 online. And put that up to your silver. If it snaps to your silver, that goes in a separate pile. If it even moves, just put it in a separate pile. And remember, this isn't a verdict. This is just a filter. But it's your first test. Now, the ping test. Hold the coin on your fingertip. Tap it with another coin. Real silver rings clear and high for 1 to 2 seconds. Fakes go thunk. Separate pile. Anything in this pile over here goes to a coin shop this week. Ask for XRF testing. Free, or $25 or so. For any bar over 10 ounces, ask specifically for ultrasound verification. That is the test that catches what everything else misses. It bounces waves through the entire bar without destroying it. Sees the tungsten core that looks perfect on the outside. If your dealer doesn't have the equipment, find one who does. Step 2, stop buying deals. Everyone bought silver coins because they were the affordable option, and that is exactly why they are the #1 target now. A fake gold kilobar requires serious materials to be convincing. A fake silver coin requires $4 and a cheap press. Only buy from dealers with direct mint relationships going forward. A deal in a supply-constrained market is just a counterfeit you haven't discovered yet. Now here's where I have to be honest about what I can't fully answer yet. We know the 5-year structural deficit is real. We know China locked the export gates. We know at least one major US dealer distributed sophisticated fakes into the retail market. What we don't know is how many of those bars are already circulating. But history says we're probably just seeing the tip of it right now. In past metal scandals, the worst of the fraud, it surfaced a year or two after the price spike. That's kind of the timeline that I'm watching. Your physical silver, it was supposed to be your war chest, your fortress. And if you can't verify it, it's not a fortress, it's a liability. So you've got 2 choices right now. 1, leave it in the safe. Assume everything is fine and find out the truth on the day you desperately need to sell, which is the worst possible time. Or 2, take 30 minutes this week, check the weight, run the magnet, do the ping test, get anything questionable ultrasound verified before it becomes a crisis you can't fix. You're the type of person who reads the document before they sign it. We don't wait. We don't hope. We defend. And here's the thing nobody tells you after you finish that audit. If something fails, or even if everything passes, you're gonna want to buy more silver or gold through a dealer you can actually trust. And that is a completely different problem. Because the counterfeit market isn't the only way people are losing money in precious metals right now. There's a second threat, one that happens with fully authentic, real metal purchased from legitimate dealers, where people hand over $50,000 and immediately lose $12,000 of it. Not to a fake silver bar, to a hidden spread they didn't know to ask about. I've seen it happen to smart, careful people who did everything right. They bought physical, they avoided paper, they held long term, and they still got taken because they didn't know the 10 questions that separate an honest dealer from a predatory one. And that's exactly why I put this next video together for you right here to watch next. It walks through the specific questions, word for word, that force any dealer to show you their real margins before you hand over a dollar. The kind of questions that make a bad dealer hang up the phone. So watch this one next.